Warning. The following video contains strong language that some viewers may find offensive or disturbing.
Has anyone ever given a nice guy a chance after they've thrown a tantrum because you didn't let them treat you like a queen? And if you did, how did it work out? I was the nice guy who got turned down for a second date. I said the same bullshit that any nice guy says when that happens. I.e., all women are the same. Say they want nice guys. Only date assholes, etc. She said, well, fine, let's have that second date, but doesn't it make you feel weird to have to convince someone to date you? Don't you want someone who wants to be with you? Me. Changed absolutely everything about dating for me. I dated a nice guy for 3 years. First he did treat me like a queen. Put me up on a pedestal. Flattered me. Bought me things. He made me feel really good about myself and more confident. Then, it changed because my confidence was a threat. The name-calling started. Fights over nothing. Insane jealousy. He wore me down until I felt like nothing. I hadn't done anything sexual or even dated prior to meeting him. He threw a tantrum until I did all the things he wanted even if I was crying or saying no. He consistently expressed how he wished it was acceptable to hit me and let his mother berate and slap me. It got to the point where he'd pick me up at 7 a.m. I couldn't drive at the time. Drop me off at his house. Take my cell phone and leave me there until he got out of work. After making me quit my job and trying to get me to quit school. I realized I didn't want this to be my life every day. I was isolated from my friends and family. Depressed. And expected to take care of his needs without anything in return. I finally got the confidence to break it off. Turns out he was cheating on me too. He threatened to kill me and any guy he saw me with. Harassed and stalked me for years. He told everyone I was a whore and I left him because of his weight and how he was such a nice guy to me. Fuck you, Jerry. I finally allowed him to take me on a date to breakfast. Figured midday would be ideal to meet up in public. I offended him immediately when I spoke to the waitress. I said, "We have 2," when she asked how many we had. He insisted that she was asking him, not me, and I emasculated him in public. I laughed it off as a joke. I grew up with all brothers. Surely, he was trying to be funny. We sat down. The waitress asked for our order. I gave her mine. He groaned and asked her to come back in a second. He told me proper protocol was for me to discuss what I wanted to eat with him. Allow him to make the decision. And he was supposed to relay that to the waitress, not me. I told him he was crazy and left. Blocked his number. Ghosted completely. Yeah, it was my first and last Tinder date. I went to the guy's house. Figured it would be safe since he had 2 roommates. He'd lived with these roommates for 6 months and when I asked him their names, he couldn't tell me. First red flag. I was like, how? Any sane person would give some attempt to learn their roommates' names. It's not like he was in a basement suite. He shared many common areas with them. When I got there, his house was barely furnished. There was a large TV in the living room and no seating whatsoever. He quickly scrambled upstairs to get 2 child-sized egg chairs and planted them in front of the TV. The TV was playing a movie that was mostly porn. Super inappropriate for a first date. I figured he was trying to get me horny. It just made me uncomfortable. As did the egg chair I didn't fit in. He promptly signaled for me to come sit on his lap. I figured it might be more comfortable than the chair I was in. At one point he went in for a kiss and I thought, what the heck? Might as well try to enjoy myself. It was awful. All I could feel were his teeth and his lizard tongue punching my uvula. I actually had to hold back gags. After that I waited about 15 minutes before signaling that I was going to leave. Mostly to preserve his feelings. So after the date I messaged him saying I couldn't see a second date happening. I was as nice as humanly possible. He lost it. You're just a whore. Didn't want you anyways. Now you are showing your true colors, and then switched to, I love you though. I was going to bring you to Greece. He flip-flopped between those 2 states and called me, no answer, every 3 minutes until I blocked him on everything. I deleted Tinder. Oh, finally my time to Shine, I guess? In high school I briefly dated a nice guy complete with an actual fedora in 2000 before they were really a thing, thanks art school. I had been in a really horrible, abusive relationship with a guy in his 20s just before. And in fairness my nice guy, then friend had been instrumental in helping me to realize how fucked up our vibe was and helping me to leave an objectively horrible situation. He then promptly swooped in and started pushing for romantic intimacy between us. He never actually declared feelings, he was never that straightforward about his own thoughts and desires, just talked about the way I deserved to be treated like a queen. OBVS, and made it clear he felt he was the only one who would give me that. Many of my friends were pushing for it as well, he was nice. After all, and my previous boyfriends had been so objectively awful, I felt a lot of obligation and kind of went along on autopilot. There was a lot of negotiation around anything sexual. I treat you so well. Don't you want to, from him, and I know you want to treat me like a lady so you'll be okay to take it slow, from me. One of the hardest parts was that he clearly wasn't out to hurt me or to fuck me. The sexual acts between us, we never slept together, but did other things that seemed like a huge deal to teenage me, were only a demonstration, proof that I loved him. That was what he wanted. But I didn't, and I really thought that meant there was something wrong with me. In the end, I only lasted about a month. He decorated my locker, brought flowers, and left notes for me taped to my desk in each of my classes to celebrate our fucking 1-month anniversary. I was mortified. My math teacher caught a good look at my face before I managed to plaster a smile back on as I opened the note he had left in her class. She asked me to stay back after for what turned out to be one of the most important talks in my life, Mrs. Brown. Just the best. I felt panicked, telling her over and over how happy and lucky I was. She kept asking questions until I burst into tears and it all just came out. I don't really remember what all she said, but I remember her saying, "It's okay to be alone." She said it over and over. Like Robin Williams going, "It's not your fault," in Good Will Hunting. And soon enough I broke up with him, kindly but firmly. And about 5 different times before he accepted it. He cried. He got angry. Absurdly. Insanely. His mom called my mom. Who dropped the hammer on her in a way I haven't seen before or since. I took a ton of shit at school for breaking his heart and ruining his life, but I felt so free that I didn't really mind. I dated around, but didn't have a boyfriend again until I was 21. It was, truly, okay, and important, and necessary to be alone. My wife did while she was in college. He had constant low self-esteem which annoyed her. He also loved making fun of other people. Sounds like he was just a toxic guy. When she broke up with him he wrote a suicide note naming her as the reason and showed up on campus with a gun. Fortunately nothing happened. He got some therapy and wasn't allowed back at the school. A girlfriend told me that when she was still new to dating, she gave a nice guy a shot. They were in different states and after weeks of owing him a sexy picture or video she agreed to FaceTime him with a wink-wink agreement that things might get steamy. The day comes and this 300 pounds unwashed dude called her 190 pounds. 5'6", nice. But bigger than he liked, and suggested she start working out. He then pushed for an in-person visit near him so that he could show her the wonders of carnal things. She ghosted him shortly after that. I had a guy who would constantly ask me out or make really awkward advances for like a year plus. I finally hit a pretty low point after coming out of a relationship and agreed to go out on a date. He seemed actually kind of nice and we ended up dating and lived together for a bit. It all turned sour though. When he realized that all his cute punk girl bullshit he had projected onto me wasn't who I am and I wasn't changing to what he wanted me to be. And then all of a sudden he was out with friends constantly and coming home drunk. The morning he came home, around 6 a.m., telling me he kissed another woman finally woke me up and I left him. He would still send me messages for months after we broke up. Not acknowledging my replies saying I have a boyfriend and it's inappropriate to say these things. Even now if I unblock him from social media I'll get a message within a few days saying things like, "Hey, still beautiful I see, or hey cutie, sweetie, etc. and he gets blocked again. My sister did. She is a hairstylist and one of her clients was very aggressive about asking her out. He repeatedly bought flowers, concert tickets, and other gifts which he brought to her at work. And she said no each time because he seemed a little off. He got in a car accident and was really badly injured, and she felt sorry for him so she went out with him finally. They dated a few months before breaking up. I don't know the exact reason why, but after that he started stalking her. It's been over 5 years since then and he is still keeping tabs on her. She's reported him to the police multiple times, has a restraining order, and has blocked him on FB, everywhere else. But every few months he finds a way to contact her. So if you get weird vibes from someone, don't give them a chance or you might end up with a lifelong stalker like my sister has. Met a guy online and he seemed really nice. He was a tad pushy about meeting up but I ignored that little feeling. We met up shortly after for a quick date. I think we got coffee and chatted. It was instant chemistry. He had 2 sons and I have 2 kids. Both open to blended families. Goal-oriented. Smart. Easy conversation. We decided to go out again the next night. Really nice date and he was a complete gentleman. He mentioned on the date we'd have to get the kids together to see if they like each other. I laughed it off. Like, yeah, maybe down the road. We just met and continued the date. 2 days later, during our texting I casually mentioned I was going to take my kids on a nature walk and I'd text him when I was back. He shows up with his kids. Now, I don't have it in me to be mean to children so I played nice and introduced myself. They were around 5 and 7. And very sweet boys, but inside I was creeped the fuck out. After we parted ways I called him and told him that was not cool at all. Of course, he played victim and hurt until I said I was uncomfortable with what he did. Then it was, I'm just trying to love you and your kids. How can we be together if they don't meet, and you should appreciate a man trying with a woman with 2 kids. As if he didn't have 2 his damn self. He sent angry messages for about a week. I never would respond and he went away. To clarify, this all happened in a 2-week span. From start to finish. Yes, I did once. And I wish I didn't. He wasn't a nice guy after all. He treated me like I was the ugly one. I never felt more shitty in my whole life than when I was with him. I should have known. Yes, the tantrums continued throughout the relationship. He was very controlling. If I was out with friends he would be upset that I was having fun without him. He ended up cheating on me and dumping me only to beg me back. He semi-staked me for a couple of years. Had an online blog about what I did each day and tried to befriend my exes. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. See you next time.